Happy Sunday, you all, or whatever day it is that you are viewing this. Good day to you all. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to those who are subscribers. I am Trinice L. Jackson. For those of you who don't know, thank you for subscribing to my channel. If you have yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Hit the post notification bell so that you all are notified when I upload new content. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you're hearing. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, then remain true to yourself. As I often say, you have to be true to yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So today I'm going to be talking about spiritual warfare. But before I get into the video about spiritual warfare, I felt the need on last week to reintroduce my channel to those who are subscribers, to introduce it to those who are newcomers and those who are just viewing. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, what to expect of me and not from me. You will get spiritual and inspirational messages from this channel. I've made it very clear that I am not a religious person. I'm very spiritual. I am connected to the source. Who is the source? God is the source. He's the source of my strength. So it's for any and everybody. Any and everybody. Even if you don't believe in God at the moment, it's still for you. You could take from it and you can apply it to your lives. I am not prejudiced against anyone. If whatever your religion is, you could be Muslim, you can be Buddhist, whatever it is, it's okay with me because I have love on the inside and I'm not here to judge anyone at all. I'm here to plant a seed of love and kindness into the world. God said to me a couple months ago, be the change you want to see, Trinice. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm walking in my path. I'm walking in my journey and I'm on my path that God has laid so nicely for me, even with some stumbling blocks and some stones that might be thrown in my way, spiritual stones that are being thrown in my way. You know, even Jesus said, he said to them, he said, which one of my good works that I did for my Father are you going to stone me for? In other words, are you going to stone me for speaking the truth? Are you going to stone me for helping the lame? Are you going to stone me for giving sight to the blind? Are you going to stone me for giving hearing to the deaf? Are you going to stone me for feeding 5,000 people that were hungry with 5 loaves and 2 fish? These are the things that you're going to stone me for? So I know that there's a battle going on. God said he was preparing me for it. But I've been through spiritual warfare. So any spiritual stone that's being thrown my way, there you go. Thank you. There you go. I'm prepared. I'm not saying I want to go through it. I wish that people could understand my calling, but it's okay if they don't. I told people in other videos, if there's anything that you don't agree with or anything that you don't understand, to respectfully come to me and talk to me about it. Please don't throw spiritual stones at me. I said, call me up, text me, inbox me, give me a comment down below, or go to God. But don't throw no spiritual stones. But guess what? They're going to be thrown because they're being thrown already. But God said he was preparing me for this, right? So another thing I want to make clear. I'm talking about doing all this good work and wanting to help people. And I said last week on Facebook, and I believe on Instagram, I'm not sure if I posted it on Instagram, but I said that, I'm more of a humanitarian. Like Mother Teresa, she was a humanitarian. She wanted to help people. That was her calling, and that's what she did so graciously, and that's all I'm trying to do. But what I do want to make clear to you all is that your works, your good deeds, my good works, it's not a ticket to heaven. My good deeds and my good works are not going to automatically give me a place in heaven. You can't be saved by your good works. There are many people who give to the homeless and give to the poor, rich and wealthy people. They're not all bad and evil. They give and they give and they give a lot of their fortune away. They help in any manner that they can. You'll have some people that's even wealthy that will go and sit with the homeless people. They will help feed the homeless. They will go into the soup kitchens. They'll do anything they can, but they don't believe in God. So you can't go to a place that you don't believe in. But then you have, on the other hand, you have the believer who professes Christ with their mouths every single day of their lives, witnessing to others, but have hate and envy and jealousy and malice on the inside. They hate their brother in Christ that's sitting to the right. They can't stand their sister in Christ that's sitting to the left. They're envious of the person that God is using up front. And now, let's not get this twisted. Don't think I'm trying to put out subliminals, because that's not who I am. Y'all should know me by now. I speak the truth. I speak it in love, but I'm going to always speak the truth. So if I have an issue with anybody, or if I feel someone has an issue with me, I'm going to go to you. Trust and believe that. So know that there's two kinds of people. There's a different, or many different kinds of people in this world. But just know that I'm telling you that just because I'm doing my good works, that don't mean that I'm going to heaven. That doesn't mean I'm heaven bound. It takes more than that to be heaven bound. Don't believe just because they're professing Christ with their mouths and they in church every single Sunday that they don't have hate in their heart, and they might be hell bound. But I'm not here to judge you all. That's not my place. And I don't want nobody to judge me. Here's one of the things, and I know this has nothing to do with spiritual warfare. Here's one of the things that I've learned, how you can eliminate the characteristics of being judgmental. Have some compassion and understanding for someone, because we don't know what tomorrow holds and brings for us. And remember, a couple years ago, we might have been in the same situation. I'm not even talking about sin right now, y'all. I'm talking about just life in general and period. Things that people go through. We assess the situation, and then we start making judgmental decisions about that person. It's like when we go through stuff, we have to assess our situation, and hopefully and prayerfully, we go to God to help us make these decisions, and we make the best judgment call for our lives. There's a difference between judgment and judgmental. We know that judgment is the noun. This is not English class. I was good at English back in the day. I don't know about now. English changed a little bit for me once I became a court reporter. And you know that the word judgmental is what an adjective it describes. So sometimes we become a bit judgmental because sometimes we forget where we were and where God brought us from. Have a little compassion and empathy and sympathy for others. Have some understanding. I'm not saying to condone, and I told you before, I don't condone nor do I consent sin, nor do I condemn it, because I'm not God. Don't get me wrong. If I see somebody that's held bound, you think I'm not going to try to talk to them. I will, but I'm not going to judge them. But that's why I'm here to see. God said, what did he say? He said, it's through loving kindness have I drawn thee. So I'm just trying to plant some seeds of love and kindness in people. Let me do it. Just let me do what God called me to do. Just let me do it. Even Jesus said, which one of the good works that I did for my Father are you going to stone me for? In other words, he's saying, well, are you going to stone me because I gave sight to the blind? Are you going to stone me because I gave hearing to the deaf? Are you going to stone me because I healed the woman with the issue of blood? Or are you going to stone me because I fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish? Which one are you going to stone me for? So there are some spiritual stones that are being thrown at me. But God has prepared me. You know why he prepared me? Oh, you know why I'm prepared, I should say. Because I went through spiritual warfare, y'all. I've been through spiritual warfare. Not the kind that Job went through. I'm not liking my situation to Job, because nobody wants to go what Job went through. Job lost everything. And Job was faithful. He was a faithful servant to God. You know, the devil, he's cunning, y'all. The devil showed up and God said, well, where'd you come from? And I know I said this was going to be a religious channel, and it's not a religious channel, but I told you God is going to show up anywhere I show up, because I keep him with me on the inside. He's going to show up in all my messages. So the devil showed up and God said, well, where'd you come from? Where were you? And he said, going to and from down to earth. You know what he was doing. He was looking for the weakest link. He was looking for somebody to mess with. He was looking for somebody to attack spiritually. You know how it is on these streets of Jersey City, not just Jersey City. You know, who he attacks, who mind is not guarded with the truth, who don't have love on the inside, who have hate and envy on the inside. He's using these young people to go around killing one another. The devil is at war, y'all. And I went through spiritual warfare, just a different kind of spiritual warfare. I'm bringing up Job because Job was a faithful servant of God. God said he was blameless and upright And he gave free reign to the devil. He gave free reign to Satan. Some of you all might say, well, if he was, what's the point of serving him if he going to hand us over to the devil? Let me get to that. Because I was unclear as to why I went through what I went through. Now, some people might have thought at the time when I was going through, well, those who knew me, they knew that it was nothing I had did wrong. Not to say that I was blameless. I was living a holy, consecrated, sanctified life. Not holier than thou, you all. I wasn't self-righteous. I was trying to walk in the righteousness of God. And I felt I was doing it well. I was dedicated to God. I was dedicated to my church. I was dedicated to my marriage. I was dedicated to my children. All I did was go to work, come home, be a wife, and went to church and did what God called me to do. But I still went through spiritual warfare. And I didn't understand it. I went through a time in my life when I couldn't talk. My family can attest to this. I told this story some months ago on Instagram where I was going through some things in my marriage. And let me understand, let me be clear. I'm not putting my business out there, but sort of I kind of am. But not really. I'm not going into the great details of why I was going through this spiritual warfare. Now understand this, that the devil, he's cunning, but he's not stupid. He's not stupid. He's evil, but he's not stupid. He's not all-knowing, but he knows your weaknesses. He knows what it is that's going to tear you down. So you got to be careful. Like, see, the devil's not going to send somebody into my life that uses drugs, because I was never a drug user. So that's not my weakness. That's not going to tear me down. That's not going to cause my anxiety to act up. But he knew that if he had started attacking me in my marriage, it was going to break me down. So I went through a period of spiritual warfare when my mind, my thoughts were, this is spiritual warfare. When your thoughts begin to battle with one another. You know, back in the day in the cartoons, and they had the angel and then the devil, and it's just your conscience, it's your thoughts. It's warring against each other. My thoughts were warring against one another. It was warring against each other. Battlefields of the mind. My spirit was grieved. I was heartbroken. The devil knew. He knew. He knew what to do that caused me to go through this spiritual warfare. It had gotten so bad, you all, that I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't hold a fork. The fork felt like it weighed a ton. A fork, y'all. A regular table fork. It felt like it weighed a ton, and I couldn't even hold that up. And I remember my cousin, Tawana, she was at my house. I called her because, we were very close. We were still very close. And I said, I need my cousin here. I called my mom, too. My mom wasn't home. And I called my cousin, or I might have called my aunt. And my aunt told my cousins, and I said, we're a real tight family. We're a tight family. Jacksons are tight. And they came to my rescue. And they came, and I couldn't talk, and Brandon was just a baby. He was about 2 years old. He wasn't quite 2. He was a couple weeks away from being 2 years old. He was real smart. He's smart baby, smart. And he began to mock me because Tawana was trying to ask me, well, where's his clothes? Show me which drawer. And she was like, tell me. And I couldn't. And I had to kind of point to her, and I was using sign language and like using my hand to say the pamper like this. And she said, stop doing that. You're going to stay like that. And then once my mom finally arrived, she said to me, she called me Nene. Those who know. Nene, I can't believe this. I thought you were stronger than this. I thought you were stronger than this. And the first lady was there, and my pastor came. They came to pray for me. And the first lady looked at my mom, and she said, what you and I can go through and get through, some people can't. Well, she didn't say get through because she knew I was going to get through it. But she said some things that I can handle, somebody else can't. And that's very true. That was my weakness, my marriage, because I held it tight. I held it close to my heart until I couldn't hold it no more, y'all. But that's another story. So I was going to church, grieved in my spirit, heartbroken, was about to lose my mind. In fact, let me go back. You know how Wyclef said, please call 911. My mama was about to call 911. She was on the phone with my aunt, and I heard her. They was on speaker, and my mother was like, we're going to call the ambulance, because she thought I was losing my mind because I couldn't talk, and I couldn't hold a fork, and I could barely walk. And my aunt said, no, we're not. She said, We gonna pray this thing out. We gonna pray. Where's your faith? But it's a little different when it's your child. When it's your child, sometimes sometimes that it shouldn't go out the window. And I'm not saying it did go out the window, but sometimes it's like, I need to get her help right now. Maybe in her mind, God wasn't moving fast enough. So let's get her the help that she needs. Now, what was going on in the spiritual realm was manifested into the natural realm. The medical doctors would have called it a nervous breakdown. She was having a mental breakdown, but it was spiritual warfare. I was depressed. My friend JD, I remember going to work, and you could see it all on my face. Dark circles. I hadn't been sleeping. She said, what's wrong? And I said, nothing. She's like, oh, no, something's wrong, Trinice, because, I'm a chipper, happy person. And it was because I was going through spiritual warfare, you all. But yet I was still dedicated to God, still dedicated to his word, still going to church faithfully. People might say, well, who will want to serve a God that's going to hand you over to the enemy? Like Job. He gave Job free reign in his life. He just couldn't kill Job. God kept his hand on me. The entire time that I was going through spiritual warfare, I knew where my faith lied. It lied in God. I knew that he would bring me out. I just didn't know when he was going to bring me out. I was wanting to lay down and not wake up. Now, I wasn't suicidal. I didn't say, let me take these pills and go to sleep and not get up. But I wanted to lay down and not get up. I didn't say, let me go to the top of the building and jump off, because he kept his hand on me. I worked in the city. And I'm going back 15 years when this happened. Maybe, in fact, no, this was longer. I'm going back 17 years ago, because Brandon's 19 now. I was working in a city, getting on the subway every day, but nothing said jump in front of the train, Trinice, because God kept me in my go-through, because I was faithful to him. Some of us are going through things, and sometimes people automatically assume it's because of something we did. I did nothing. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I was dedicated to God and to his word. But he brought me through it. There were some dark entities that attached itself to me. Remember, Sister Lorraine King, she can attest to this. I was so depressed, y'all, grieved in my spirit. And now, I'm going to say I didn't know why. At that time, I knew why. But there was a different point in my life when everything was okay. At least I thought so. Everything was okay. Everything was like so sweet and everything was fine. And I was still grieved in my spirit. The devil was still attacking me. I remember sitting on the train, the PATH train, on my way home from work. In fact, no, I was going to work, and I wanted to get off the train and go back home because I felt this heaviness. This heaviness came upon me, and I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I'm going to die. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I so depressed? Now, remind you, this is not when I was going through whatever I was going through in my marriage. I'm jumping a little bit, but it's still about spiritual warfare. It's still about spiritual warfare, and I was still dedicated to God. It wasn't when I didn't leave the church until years later. So this has nothing to do with me leaving the church and turning my back on God and falling back into sin. No, it had nothing to do with that, because listen, even in church we in sin, because nobody's perfect. We try to live as closely as God to his word as we can. But I remember going to church and I was depressed and I couldn't even figure it out. I even said something on Facebook one time to somebody posted something. I said, well, what about when you just don't even know what you're going through? You can't put your finger on why you're feeling so depressed. And I went into church and the pastor prayed for me. This probably scared him a little bit. Not that he's scared, but I began, and he laid hands on me. And to some people who don't believe in the laying of the hands, there are people who I've heard and seen say, the pastor pushed you down. They didn't say that to me, but I've heard people say, the pastor pushing people down, making it seem like that is some supernatural power. It's real, y'all. It's real. It's real. God is real. Just like Satan is real. God is real. There's good and there's bad. There's a beginning and an end to everything, y'all. There's a season for everything. There's a time to rejoice and there's a time to cry. So there's a season to everything. I was going through a season of warfare. But I was blessed to know the word of God. I knew that I had to hold on. I kept the whole armor of God on. Read Ephesians, what is it? Ephesians 6, 10 and 8. 10 through 18. I remember our scriptures, but I can't sometimes remember the verses. I'm not reading the whole scripture to you all because, you know, I learned in my boot camp class, you're really not supposed to make these long messages. These long messages are really supposed to be for when you're speaking in front of people, because it's hard to hold someone's retention for that long. And I'm already 20 minutes in. I'm about to take it home. I promise you. So I went into church and the pastor laid hands on me and I was slayed in the spirit. But guess what? I began to slither across the floor like a snake. And guess what? I was still in his word, still dedicated to his word, still living as upright as I could, still dedicated to him. Again, some of you all might be saying, why then? Why would you want to serve a God who's going to give you over to Satan to mess over you? And you're dedicated to him. And I didn't quite understand, but I know he was preparing me for the day of these little attacks, these spiritual stones that are being thrown at me, for just trying to do his work, for trying to walk in the path, on the path that he's laid so beautifully for me. I'm just trying to walk my path, y'all. Don't take offense to this message. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. This message is even for what's to come. Because I told y'all, he said he was preparing me. I told y'all on last week. He said that he was preparing me for what's to come. I don't want to go through these attacks. I don't. I just want to do what I'm called to do. But you know there's going to be some things that you're going to go through. You're going to go through some things when you begin to do the work of God. Sister Lorraine King, I don't know if I mentioned her. When I finished being slayed in the spirit and being delivered from these demonic forces, she said to me, you slithered across the floor like a snake. She was like, Sister Trinice, came up to me. You know Lorraine, she's sweet. She's sweet. She came and said, Sister Trinice, you slithered across the floor like a snake. I was going through spiritual warfare, depressed. But guess what? The doctors didn't have to prescribe me no Prozac, no Valium, no Klonopin. I think that's one of the medications. I hear these things a lot in depositions. Some Xanax. He didn't have to prescribe that for me. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a chemical imbalance, you might need to take some. Y'all, that's just the truth. I'm not saying that God can't deliver you, because he can deliver. He can deliver, he can heal, he can set free. I'm not trying to tell y'all to speak against it, because when there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, you need something to balance that out. But that's not what I was going through. I told you, the world and the medical professionals would say it was a mental breakdown. But it wasn't. It was spiritual warfare. The devil thought he had me. But God allows and he disallows. Now you might say again, well, why, God? And I sat there and I said, God, well, God, people don't want to know why you allowed me to go through this. And I was living as holy as I knew how. I was dedicated to you, God. Why you put me through this of all people? You know, I don't wish that on anybody, but why not the evil one? They walking around happy and just living life. That's going to come to an end as well. But God said to me on Thursday just passed, a couple days ago. A few days ago, or whatever mom days it was. He said, so you can tell your story. Now, the average person would say, you didn't put me through that so I could tell my story. I read somebody's story. I tell them about Job. And you don't need to put me through that. But God said, I allowed you to go through that so that you can help someone. I told you I've been called to help people. It may be not in the traditional way that you all are used to. But remember what God said. Be the change you want to see, Trinice, and that's what I'm doing. So if there's anybody that's stuck in a dark place, it could have something to do with sin. I don't know your situation. I'm not there. Or it could be something that God is allowing you to go through. But you got to put on the whole armor of God, stay in his word, Live upright in the best way you know how. We're human. To err is human. To forgive is divine. And he forgives us of our sins. Know that. Sometimes humans, people don't forgive us. They don't forget what you've done. They don't forget what you've done against them, against others. Know this. When you are good to people, you have a positive effect on their lives. AFFECT, a positive effect on their lives. When you do bad to people, let me come down. I know I kind of get loud sometimes because I'm a passionate person. When you do bad to others, watch the end results, the effects, EFFECT. Watch. It's better to be a good person on the inside than to be an evil person. Because I did all that God had called me to do, he brought me out of it. Like the 3 Hebrew boys. Look how I'm shining, y'all. I'm glowing. It's the ring light, granted. But unsinged, I came out stronger. Even though there was a time when I turned my back, I went back into the world. I told you I'm not a traditionalist, though. I'm not a traditionalist. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual and I'm connected to God. I'm connected to God, y'all. Some of y'all don't believe it. Some people think I'm up here for show. Some people already know it. Some people think I'm up here for show. They think I'm up here to gain praise. That's not what I'm doing because this is not about me. It's about God. Remember, it's about you all helping others. They think I'm up here to get the likes and to get people excited. That's not what I'm doing, you all. This is my calling. Since I was a little girl, I told you I was a giver since I was about 10 years old. I was a giver since I was a little girl. You don't find too many people at 10 years old wanting. There's some kids out there, but I was different. Listen, look at my name. This is not me being braggadocious in any shape, fashion, or form. Unique in all my ways. I embody that name so graciously. I'm not like other people, you all. So you're not going to get what other people give you because my calling's a bit different. That's why I said get into the church. So the pastor can nurture and water the seed of love and kindness that I'm trying to plant and share with the world. Let your light shine. Let your life be a testament of what God can do, what he's done for you and what he can do for others. That is all you all. I'm 27 minutes in. I hope that somebody can be spiritually fed from this message, even if it's one person. One person. If I can touch you, if I can help you, then God can heal you. Get into your church. Find you a good pastor, someone that's being led by God, someone who knows the word, who knows right from wrong, who tries to live upright. And let me be clear, I didn't leave my church of any doings of my past. I told you I left the church at the time because I was in sin. But my path is a little bit different now. It's a bit different now, right? Anyway, that is it. Have a blessed week. Have a wonderful Sunday. It's time for me to do some work, and again, I want to say to you all that I may be only doing one video a month because now I'm starting to take these online courses. I don't know what I don't know why I'm setting myself up because I'm signing up for this one and that one and this one and that one. And where do I get time as a court reporter? We don't have time. The only thing we have time for is to do transcripts, but I'm going to make time, right? You have to make time and your gift will make room for you. Right? So that's it for now, you all. Be blessed. Stay connected to the source, God, the universe, or whomever it is that you feel is your higher power.